Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Earlier today, I made a video using Russia Today, which reported that Gonzalo Lira died in Ukrainian captivity. He died in prison while he was awaiting some kind of trial. His father claimed that he was tortured, extorted, and eventually he died. This is, if this would have happened in Russia, you bet everybody would have been in arms with Putin killing his critics or something. Now I have an update on that. I don't know how to call it. Killing, tragic death, violent death. And I have actually two articles coming again from Russia Today, not from CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or all the legitimate media, US media. Remember, Gonzalo Lira was a US citizen, as he was also a Chilean citizen. So, and let's start with the first article, which states that, or reports that finally the State Department, the US State Department, confirms the death of Gonzalo Lira. So this is the first article here from the 12th of January 2024. State Department confirms death of US journalist jailed by Ukraine. TASS reported. Gonzalo Lira's relatives have blamed his death on Washington and Kiev. And the other article will be the one right here on top listed, who was a tortured, quote-unquote, US journalist who died in Ukrainian captivity. So we're going to look at this one and then the other one. Chilean-American blogger Gonzalo Lira has died in Ukrainian prison, Russian news agency TASS said on Saturday, citing a response it received from the U.S. Department of State. So it received an answer. The blogger's death was first announced by his family on Friday. So we know who he was here, and he was arrested by the security services of Ukraine last May and accused of discrediting and quote-unquote the Ukrainian leadership and the military. And this is what his father said. I covered it in the other video using the other article. And I'm trying to find out here, the same article, if we find anything about the State Department. And it doesn't say anything. It's the same thing as the other one, the other article. So let's move to this article right here, and it says, who was, and I'm quoting, the tortured US journalist who died in Ukrainian captivity. Now remember, always put it in this kind of perspective. What if it would have been a American journalist like Gerkovich from the Wall Street Journal dying, suddenly in the Russian jail where he's right now, accused of espionage? What would have happened? Do you think these guys would just, nothing? A critic of President Zelensky's government, Gonzalo Lira, spent months in a Kharkov jail. Here he is. Journalist and filmmaker Gonzalo Lira, a national of the US and Chile, has died while in jail in Ukraine. Lira's family reported the death on January 12 today, which was then confirmed by the US Department of State. Lira has been in pre-trial detention since May 2023 on accusations of justifying Moscow's military operation against Kiev. According to a handwritten note Lira's sister received on January 4th, provided to the gray zone by her father, Lira had severe health problems caused by pneumonia and collapsed lung, which began in mid-October. Ukrainian prison authority only acknowledged the issue on December 22nd and stated he would undergo surgery. The journalist's father, Gonzalo Lira Sr., said that his son has been tortured, while the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, and I'm quoting, did nothing to help him. Remember how the Americans, the authorities, scrambled for Brittany Griner? Remember that basketball woman that was caught with cannabis entering Russia, and she was jailed and convicted for about 9 years and a half in prison, and then she was swapped with Viktor Baut. These guys were like crazy to get her out. But well, she gets a few badges of certain kind of a victimhood. Therefore, these guys fought like crazy, like a war. Now, Lira was a journalist, blogger, writer, and filmmaker with experience working in Hollywood. He authored several novels in English and Spanish, including the 2002 spy thriller Acrobat. The 55-year-old was also known online as Coach Red Pill, offering lifestyle advice to a male audience. He reportedly moved to Ukraine in 2010. Wow. And married a local woman. The blogger lived in Kharkov, Ukraine's second largest city, located in the east, not far from its border with Russia. So I showed you where it is. I'm going to show it again, where Kharkiv is. So we have the map right here. So it's in the east, this area. This is Kharkiv, Kharkov. Kharkov by the Russians, Kharkiv by the Ukrainians. So he lived here by Belgorod. We'll have the garbage now. So in the east of Ukraine. After Russia and Ukraine's long simmering disputes turned to military confrontation in February 2022, Lira began actively covering the fighting on social media. He said that he loved Ukraine and its people and that the whole thing was a tragedy, but insisted that the conflict had been provoked by the Zelensky government and its Western backers. The blogger said that Ukraine had no chance of winning against Russia and predicted failure. He also criticized efforts by the Western media to portray Ukraine as a democracy, speaking about rampant corruption in the government and publishing a list of Zelensky's opponents who, he claimed, had been disappeared by the Kiev authorities. They don't have to be disappeared. They would be charged with cooperating with the Russians. This is the euphemism. Like in Stalin's time, you are the Soviet Union's enemy. Lira's three arrests. Lira's disappearance in April 2022 made international headlines, really, with some accounts on social media claiming that he could have been abducted and murdered by the members of the notorious neo-Nazi unit Kraken over his criticism of the Ukrainian authorities. However, he re-emerged on social media a week later saying that he had been detained by Ukraine's security service SBU. According to the journalist, he was released without charge, but that access to his accounts was blocked and he was told not to leave Kharkov. The journalist was arrested once again in May 2023, ultimately being released from a pretrial detention center house arrest after posting bail. On this occasion, he claimed he had been subjected to extortion and physical abuse in custody. He was arrested again in July, with Ukrainian law enforcement stating he had attempted to leave the country for Hungary on a motorbike. Washington reaction to the arrest. Nothing. The US has remained largely silent on Lira affair, with the journalist claiming that he had been receiving care while in jail only from the Chilean mission, with the US embassy calling him, and I'm quoting, 3 times, but gave me nothing but quote-unquote support. Empty promises. Bromaids. Lira also alleged he might end up extraditing back to Ukraine should he ever be able to leave the country. Specifically because U.S. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland, and I'm quoting, hates my guts, or so I'm told, end quote. Asked about Lira's fate back in August, U.S. Department of State spokesman Matthew Miller refused to provide any meaningful answer on the matter, citing privacy reasons. That's exactly how they behaved when they had Brittany Griner, privacy reason. They invited Brittany Griner's, her husband, her wife, I don't know how you would call her. And I'm quoting, the safety and security of every American overseas is our first priority. Because of privacy rules, we are unable in a lot of cases to talk about specific cases, but obviously the safety and security of Americans is our top priority, like Whalen's priority. Miller told reporters at the time what his father says. The father of jail journalist Lira, Gonzalo, has squarely blamed the situation on the U.S. administration and its ties to Kiev. The alleged prosecution of his son stemmed from the fact the latter had bravely reported on about a dozen Zelensky opponents who had disappeared, he claims. And I'm quoting, that is happening to my son. He's a victim of the Biden government and his relation with his puppet Zelensky, Lira Sr. said in an interview with U.S. journalist Tucker Carlson. The link between U.S. administration and the blogger's hardship might be even deeper, his father suggested, given that his second arrest in Ukraine came mere days after condemning Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I'm quoting, why was he not detained earlier? When he was let go the previous year, he continued the same criticism against the war, the father claimed. The interview drew concerns from none other than Elon Musk, who demanded answers on the status of Lira from U.S. President Joe Biden and his Ukrainian counterpart Zelensky, and wondered how it was possible that an American citizen is in prison in Ukraine after the U.S. sent over $100 billion to support Kiev and the conflict with Moscow. It would be a serious problem if it turned out that the journalist was being persecuted for simply criticizing Zelensky, Musk added in December. No, it wouldn't be any problems. There's not going to be any serious problem. They will just ignore it, which they do. What is Ukraine saying? Kiev insists it has rightfully targeted Lira over his activities, with the SBU repeatedly stating the journalist has been accused of, and I'm quoting, producing and distributing materials justifying the armed aggression, as well as disseminating quote-unquote fakes about the country's armed forces. The first hearing in his trial had been scheduled for December 12th. So this is more information about Gonzalo Lira and what we know so far about it. The Ukrainians will probably, if they bother to answer, that is, if the Americans will, corner them or pressure them, which they will not, they will say, well, he had, and they try to maybe undergo surgery and he just, his organs failed and it couldn't be revived and it was a tragic accident. That could be it, and that's it. Who's going to interview whom? The doctors, the what? Anyway, I think that's what's going to be. Or they're going to come and say, well, I don't know, we just found him dead in the cell and the autopsy was not conducted, or it was conducted by the same medics that conducted JFK's autopsy. Okay, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Or maybe the ones that conducted, what's his name? Rudolf Hess's autopsy after he died by suicide in Spandau prison. But his family received the casket sealed, and they took the casket, they took it to their coronary, they unsealed it, they did a thoroughly autopsy on the body. They conclude that he did not commit that. He most likely was by the British, how do you call those guys? Friends, and then who paid him a visit in the yard. Yeah, that's where they found him. Anyway, just details. So it depends who conducts the autopsy as well. So here is, my friends, for me, not surprising, it's just sad, obviously. And for what? For free speech that you don't like. And again, it's a triple standard, quadruple standard, not double standard, when you think about how these guys are all over Griner and now Gerkovich, because Gerkovich, he's special too. He's a perpetual victim as well, so he have to jump through all the hooks. After all, we have Nuland, we have Blinken, we have Zelensky. All these guys are just, special. All right, my friends. It's sad. It's sad, not scary whatsoever. I mean, this is the world we live in, and we always lived. The problem is we haven't heard, we haven't been told about these things. I mean, this happened everywhere. Okay, everywhere in the past, in any country. I mean, look at these guys. They will not unseal JFK's whatever records there over there. Why? After 1,000 years, 60 years or some? Yeah, 61 years, isn't it already? Yeah. All right, my friends, here it is. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Everything will die out. They will just not pick it. Just ignore it, and that's it. Do you think the mass media here will talk about it? No. And he was, however we want to talk it, we want to say it was a media person. He was a person like a journalist, one of them. But because it doesn't happen to them, they don't care. It's like the animals, like the cattle, or whatever, the gazelles. The lion catches one, and everybody just looks around at how the lion devours the caught gazelle. It was not me. I'm good. But next, it could be you. If all those 100 gazelles would just jump on the lion, I guarantee you the lion will run. As you can see in some videos, obviously, when you have the buffaloes doing that, you just go away. But no, they just, oh, it was not me this time. Whew, that's what these guys behave like. Cowards. Thank you very much. And interests. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.